I feel like, okay, we did it. We are live.
It took a while.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like it took a little bit today. Well, because we took like 1 minute and it's like, are you sure we're going to let you go live?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, you are. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let me get straight. I go by Brittany Brainstorm. I own the creative agency Brainstorm Boutique. We help small businesses with big dreams by creating confident branding for them through logos, brand strategy, web design, brainstorm intensives, and confidence coaching, of course, which is what Casey does. So I'm going to let Casey go ahead and introduce herself and introduce our guest for today.
All right. Hello, y'all. I'm Casey. I'm the confidence coach here at Brainstorm Boutique. I use improv and joke-based learning in order to teach business owners how to break out of their shell and have self-trust in different situations that they'll have professionally. Without further ado, we have the tax specialist superstar of honestly, like anyone in our community. Everyone talks about Kayla all the time. She is an amazing, amazing tax specialist and just a wealth of knowledge of all things taxes, money, all that jazz. We love it. She owns Shawnee Financial Services, which is located in Marion, Illinois. Kayla is a third-generation tax preparer. Her grandmother has been doing taxes for over 50 years, and they still work together at Shawnee Financial Services. They work with small businesses, personal and clergy returns. They offer business solutions and IT solutions. Kayla uses her knowledge to maximize tax returns, and we love it.
Guys,
because Kayla, how it's such a big family heirloom at this point to do tax stuff. What does taxes mean to you in helping small business owners?
It is something that I don't know life without this, first and foremost. It's for as long as I have literally my earliest memories. My grandma tells the story. It was back in the day when nothing was submitted electronically. It was all submitted via paper. She had this, I don't know, think bookshelf with tons of little slots. And it was every tax form ever. And my favorites were the carbon copies. So I would have a heyday. That literally was my earliest memory of tax season. I remember getting in trouble because I would use them all. It was fine if I just took one or two, but no, she would be like, why is my supply low, Kayla? So yes,
not Kayla.
That is my earliest tax memory. And you're right. It is an heirloom. It's hard to put into words what it really means because, like I said, I don't remember a life without it. But, it was just last tax season that we had a client came in and she was just so overly thankful for our services. And, we were just doing our job. She was a paying client. We didn't think really much about it. But we gave her, she was widowed, and we just provided her with peace and comfort. And she was like, you know what, guys, this is really your ministry. This is how you're helping people, and us being, faith-based and religious, that meant a lot to us, probably more than a lot of things have. And I think that's just a good way to think of it in terms of our office. This is how we're helping people. You can help people in a lot of different ways, right? There are modern day heroes. I would not put myself in that category, but I like to think I make life easier.
I think taxes are so intimidating that if you can prepare taxes in a single bound, that is Superman level. We love it because I don't get it. I don't get it.
Taxes are actually, I want to think that's probably one of the main reasons a lot of people are too scared to start their business, or at least to make it legal or we have a comment here. Alicia Carruthers says your ministry. I love it. Alicia's awesome. We just met her yesterday.
Awesome. Good. And I'm so glad.
Talk about a ministry though. What she's doing with Taste of Balance
fantastic, guys.
Is a ministry all in itself. on helping. So she does meal prep with all organic, non-GMO foods.
Yes.
And saving people time.
Yes.
Giving people access to like really good for you foods during the busiest times of your life, the busiest times of your day. Alicia, you have a ministry too. I absolutely love that. And she definitely lives it. She lives it
she
too.
does. And the food is fantastic. Okay. As someone, this is totally side note because I am a client of Taste of Balance and it is fantastic. Fantastic, guys. She makes some foods that are not very appetizing by themselves, taste phenomenal. So I highly recommend. Tonight actually was her she called it cheeseburger bowl, I think. Amazing. Like I can't wait for the next cheeseburger bowl. In fact, my mom and my husband also had one and we were talking about how wonderful they are. Mom's like, I would have bought all 10 if I knew they tasted good. She really believes it. So anyway, yes, that is Alicia's ministry, girl. She's in her groove and it's fantastic. Try Taste of Balance if you haven't. It's a private group, so be sure you're adding yourself to the private group.
Yeah, that's Alicia, comment your private group below so people know where to find you. Yeah. So her comment, I have great people like all three of you leading me. Aw, that's so nice.
Yeah. And we're definitely in your corner. Like I 100% believe in you. And I know that you're going to grow like crazy at your rate. Like, grow like crazy.
She's so awesome. Yeah. Well, that's such the coolest thing is like you, worked with Alicia and we've had the opportunity to work with Alicia with a Brainstorm intensive and it's, you just see everyone put their whole heart and like their personal skill sets into their business. Yeah. And so like I was saying, like, I know that the taxes part is so intimidating for people that one, they may never actually start. Yeah. They might just keep the idea because like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Or two, they're going to be like, maybe they don't actually make it legal, right? They don't actually make it like a legal thing. And because they're scared. They're scared of what do I do? What forms do I need? How do I need to claim things? But then they might be paying all these things out of pocket and they're not finding ways to maximize their returns, which is what, we said, you use your knowledge to do that. So I think Casey has a question for you. So I'm going to let you go ahead.
This was one from I put it out on our stories and was like, does anybody have any questions for Kayla? And one person responded with a really good question. And it was, when does a small business owner know when it's the right time to move from sole proprietor to LLC?
So remember, I think this goes back to the conversation of what really is an LLC. And why is someone a sole proprietor versus an LLC? And the number one thing that I can think of and why someone starts out as a sole proprietor versus an LLC is money, right? And in small business, a lot of times, you just said it, Brittany, people are putting their heart, their soul, their dreams into starting this business. And a lot of times it's based off of faith and pixie dust, right? We're hoping and we're praying and we're rubbing our last 2 pennies together to make it work. That is the heart of a small business startup. And so a sole proprietor often is just a DBA certificate filed at your local courthouse. And it's not very much money, right?
Okay, can I ask a quick question? There's probably a lot of people right now saying they are a sole proprietor, but they never did that step.
Yeah. And you know what? They can be considered a sole proprietor. They just don't have an official operating as name, right? So, that's when it comes down to, it's just like a particular, right? Because I can do business all day long. I had a gentleman in here the other day who was going to do some construction stuff. And he's like, you know what? I really don't have a name for my business. He goes, people just know me as my name. And I'm like, great, operate as your name, right? You can totally do that. But there are a few steps that I would suggest taking, like going and getting an EIN or a tax ID number. Those numbers prevent you from having to hand out your social security number to everybody, right? When someone wants to send you a 1099. So you go and you do a job and they say, okay, I need your information so that I can pay you. And I'm going to issue you a statement of what I paid you at the end in the form of a 1099. And they, instead of giving them your social, you can give them your tax ID or this business number for your sole proprietorship. And they issue that to this particular number that's attached to your bank account, your tax returns, so on and so forth. So there's that aspect. But remember the LLCs, this kind of goes back to that original question. Your LLC is a limited liability company. Okay. So it's really a legal term more than it ever is a tax term. And it is a good idea. You know, I always tell people, are we making a significant amount of money? Is there something for someone to come and take from you? Do you have assets? Are you in a high risk business? You know, some folks, they're never really in a super high risk business. So I don't push it because their business isn't high risk. Now, is that always the best? Maybe, maybe not. But I understand it's a money thing. So I'm also trying to be conscious of that for my client. I don't want to tell them to go out and do something and it be an extra expense that they really can't afford at the time. Like I said, I realize that this is people's livelihoods and I want to see them succeed. That can come later. I can feed it to them. I can work with them on making that switch from a sole proprietor to an LLC. But I think too, a big thing that people don't understand that's attached to that LLC are the forms that you file with the IRS at the time you turn into an LLC that give you the option to be taxed as something other than a sole proprietor. Right?
This is good.
Huge. This is like, if ever there were a question that I get 1,000,002 times, it is this. There's 1,000,000 different business structures out there. What's the best one for me? So basic form, sole proprietor, and you're operating on a Schedule C. A step up would be an LLC, but you're still taxed as that sole proprietor Schedule C. Or as an LLC, you have the option to be taxed as a Subchapter S corporation or a C corporation. And you can make that election on a specific form with the IRS, and it changes everything. That form has an amazing power when it comes time for taxation. And a lot of people do not know that. And so that's the trick of an LLC.
What's the best tax situation to be in? I guess it varies for the business.
It does. It totally depends on the business. So with an S corporation, there are a lot more money to maintain. So it's a totally separate tax return. So you have your personal tax return and a business tax return. So 2 separate tax returns. That's the first thing. But aside from that, and when you make that S election, you have certain requirements now. You have to run a payroll. Even if you as the owner are the only one on that payroll, you have to run a payroll. Payrolls don't just happen, right? You have to have software. You have to pay somebody. You have to be willing to put in extra blood, sweat, and tears. And payroll's total pain in the butt. Like nobody actually wants to do this anymore. And so you have to be willing to put the money in order to get the benefits. And the other thing is when you're a sole proprietor and you're a Schedule C business, you're paying self-employment tax, which is code for Medicare and Social Security tax. When you make the switch to a Subchapter S, you no longer are paying self-employment tax. Instead, you're running that payroll and you're paying Social Security and Medicare tax. So it's really the same tax. So I always tell people when we make that switch from a Schedule C business to an Sub S corporation, we need to make it count on the tax return. We need to be paying less tax when we make that jump because it's going to cost us a lot more money to upkeep and to maintain. So I don't know. I always think that that's my job as a tax professional is I'm supposed to be watching out for you in that term. I don't expect everybody to know this. This stuff isn't easy, right? It can be clear as mud. And
I still don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it sometimes.
Courtney of Boulder Creek Photography says, I love being a single member LLC. I'm glad that that's working out for you, Courtney. I need to get on that level to where I'm like, I love being a contractor.
It has its benefits. Everything has its benefits. And that's why I always tell people, don't feel bad if you're not an LLC. Yeah, don't let anybody shame you. There's so much shade thrown at people when they're like, oh, you're not an LLC. hey folks, you don't know their story. Don't throw shade at them. They're still very much a viable business. And let me tell you, sister, they're paying tax just like the next guy on that tax return. So don't throw shade.
100%. I'm such a nerd, but yes, listen to Kayla.
Okay, so with my business, Kayla, when I first started my business, I immediately filed for an LLC. Like I just knew I should get an LLC because I took like basic business courses in college and all these other things. And it was like, the limited liability, how it, protects your personal assets versus your business. So for me, I felt like that was the natural step for me, was to do that immediately. And then I talked to you, like you were like one of the very first conversations I had whenever I started my business, because I didn't really know you that well then, but I knew you went to go work for your grandma, and then I knew you through Grant, and so I was like, hey Grant, I need to talk to your wife. I don't know what I need to know, but I know have a feeling she can help. And you did. Like, you gave me so much knowledge, and then you advised me to go the subchapter, the S Corp. I don't know if I'm saying the right stuff.
S Corporation.
You advised me to do that. And all I know is I checked that little box under the LLC, like, what type of LLC are you? But for me, it was really about, managing, that income amount, but then also being able to really maximize my deductions and stuff like that. Sure. So, okay, there's so much to talk about. But, one of the things I would like to talk about, one is there a minimum you need to make to consider yourself a business? Because I know some people think, oh, I'm not really making that much. But what is that much? Like, everyone's perception of a lot of money or not enough money is subjective to their personal experience. Right. What would you say to somebody?
I think it's an important conversation that you should be having. So theoretically, even if it is a hobby and you are collecting money, you are technically supposed to pay tax on it. But we all know, like, that doesn't go down in the real world, right? If you fix Joe's car because he's your neighbor and you really like Joe, and Joe pays you cash, you put the cash in your pocket and you move right on down the line. Everybody knows that that's the way it technically works. The tax preparer in me says, no, time out. That's technically a hobby. It's supposed to go on line 8. It's subject to income tax, but not self-employment tax. Beautiful. Okay. But real life says, Kayla, when do I know if this is a business? And I always ask people. I have made it a conversation starter when I'm talking to a client, new clients, and you know what? Some of my older clients too. Some of them that have been with the practice for a while. We have this conversation every so often, and it's, what are you doing? Maybe I know that they have a limited work schedule, or I see that their W-2 wages have gone down, which tends to mean you were doing something else with your time. What are you doing? And we talk about their hobbies. And sometimes we stumble on, I think about a client not too long ago. They actually liked to low-key antique on the weekends. So they had a booth, and they're like, we never make money. We just really like to buy stuff and then fix it up and then let's sell it to other people, but we're not really making any money on it. And I'm like, time out. That's a business. Let's look at that and what opportunities lie there for you. And, yes, there are hobby loss rules. Yes, we have to watch ourselves and say, okay, we can't always show a loss on this business, but guys, hobbies can work as a business. You can have 2 jobs, right? You can have a W-2 job, and you can also have a small business. So this is an ongoing conversation. There's no magic number, folks. If you collected $600, you might have a business. If you collected $600,000, you definitely have a business.
I was going to say, wait a minute, what are they doing?
There's a wide range going on there.
Next time we have you on, can we please just have like a whole moment where you come on and you're like wearing a suit and you're like, you might be a business if.
It's true. If I've said it once, I've said it 10 times.
I want it to happen. That would be amazing.
I love that. You just might be a business if. Oh my gosh.
I have like a tiny story that goes along with this. When I which is funny because we just talked about 10 years old backstage when I was 10. Horrible age. It's terrible. Almost as bad as 13. And that's the truth. When I was 10, my mom, she figured out the manager specials at Kroger. She would go to Kroger and she would buy them out of powdered donuts. Okay. And a surplus of powdered donuts. And they would be like 60 cents for an entire thing of powdered donuts. It's amazing. So we'd have all these powdered donuts around. There's no way, even being a family of 5, there's no way we're eating donuts. So, me being who I am, I started taking sleeves and sneaking them into my backpack.
Yes, I love it.
At lunch, I would sell a powdered donut for 25 cents.
Get it, girl. You got yourself a business.
They'd be like, hey, you got any more than powdered donuts? And I would just like, you know, turn them, get the quarter, like whatever. I was very chill, very cool about it. Like, you know, had this whole thing going.
I love it.
I get sent to the principal's office.
Stop it.
Because you're not allowed to run a business in school. And then they told me that not paying taxes, it makes me illegal and I could go to jail.
Scare tactic.
Then I hated taxes.
I love it. I love
scarred. I didn't realize the scars ran that deep, Casey.
Yeah, I know. And it was like
selling a donut. Give a girl a break.
Yeah, and exactly. Courtney says, smuggling donuts and reading Brit's diary. The secrets come out. 10 was not my best year. I wouldn't say that I want anybody to make any strong character judgments on me from ages 10 to probably like, I'm 29 now, 28.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
That was fun. So, Casey, you survived that.
I did. Barely.
Barely. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna like waterboard.
Look at her now. She's a contractor. Yeah. Girl went places.
Oh, this is
perfect segue.
This is perfect segue. Because I was gonna ask you, if I'm a contractor, does that make me a business owner?
It does. Certifiably.
Really?
Certifiably. Because here's the thing. So you get a 1099 because someone contracts out and pays you for your services. Excuse me. You are not bound by a schedule, right? You offer XYZ services. Somebody calls you and says, guess what? I need your services. I agree to pay you X number of dollars for you to do X. They work off of your timetable, right?
Yeah.
You fit them into your schedule when you have time. They aren't controlling how you do the job. You only agreed that you would get X result. That in and of itself is the definition of a contractor. A contractor is a self-employed person. Just like that.
Am I an entrepreneur though?
Yes.
Oh my God. I never wanted this. I've always just been like, I'm not the entrepreneurial type.
No, anybody who's willing, in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, anyone who is willing to back down from a W-2 job, right? Because those are steady. Like, you know that when you go to work for somebody on a W-2, if you show up, you punch in your time card, and you do a reasonable job at most places, you will get a paycheck. That is steady. That is sure as it comes. However, we all know anybody who's ever branched out and said, okay, I'm going to offer this service to someone. Yeah. We all know someone may show up and it may be a good long while before someone steps up and says, yes, I want your service, right? You have no promise of your income. You're taking a risk. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. And the more risk, the more reward, right? So I know some entrepreneurs who are like, no, Kayla, I can't go there yet. I can't go there yet. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I can handle mentally. And great. It is my job to support you. It's my job to help lay the foundation so that if you want to go bigger, you can go bigger. But don't kid yourself. You're self-employed entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Look at you.
because I was like sitting there, me and Bernie were writing out these questions, and I was like tapping on, because we're both working on the same doc, and then I was like typing, and then I was like, am I a business owner? I never saw myself owning what you might call a business. I thought the donut thing killed that
But
dream.
that's the beautiful thing about it, because you don't look at this as, that's just like me. You guys asked me earlier, like, taxes, right? I don't always think of this as a business. There are many times that I have conversations. That's one of the reasons that at this practice, we consult for free. So we don't charge you money until we do work for you. And that's because a lot of times it's just a conversation about where you are in life, how we might be able to help you. And here, let me share some of this knowledge that I've once learned. And we don't think of it in terms of this is our job. No, because everything that we know can be discovered on the World Wide Web. And half of it we've just known from, oh crap, we tried that and it didn't work. So here, let me help you out and let you know, hey, that's not going to work. So that's really a lot of what we do in this office is that. And that's why I think that's why you think that. Like, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a business owner. It's because you like what you're doing. Yeah. And to you, this isn't work. Like, I enjoy what I'm doing so much. This isn't work to me. I don't feel like I'm being made to do this for you.
I've been doing this for a year. It just now occurred to me that I own a business, and I'm going to try not to screw it up.
Which, side note, Kayla, Casey needs to schedule a meeting with you. So.
Yeah.
Just let me know when.
We'll figure
now
out
that
those
she's
details
discovered
later.
she's a business.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing is, like, as a contractor, you know, okay. I think you definitely clarified the difference between contractor and an employee. Yes. One, it's not just forms, but it's the structure of the day and the expectation of the job being done. Like, if I tell Casey, hey, this is what I'd like us to work on, like, she'd be like, fine, I'll get to it at midnight. And I can't legally say, no, you have to do it right now. Right. Like, it's on her timing.
Right. You're just agreeing with Casey. Like, you were saying, Casey, you and I are in agreement that X is going to get done. And in good faith, you are signing, whether it's a fictitious contract or not, right? In the state of Illinois, word of mouth is just as good as any legally binding contract. That's a side note. So you and her have the agreement that this job is going to happen. If Casey feels like doing it 2 weeks from now, that's when it's going to get done. And that's because she's a contracted laborer to you. Whereas if you told Casey, nope, I'm going to need you to show up 9 to 5 and do X, Y, and Z while you're here. That's the definition of an employee.
Interesting. Wow. But you can set up like deadlines and parameters and stuff like that as a contractor.
Sure.
Where,
absolutely.
Because sometimes that does happen where, you may have paid up front or something like that, and someone disappears and never does it. Like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you got to go through if you're doing that. But there is those expectations, that the job will get done, and you may set those terms. It's just you cannot dictate that person within what specific hours being at, right. Unless that's what you want to do. So that's great. And I'm going to ask one more question because it overlaps both of this whole conversation is 1099s and W-2s. Kayla.
Yes. So,
she automatically like, yes.
Yeah. You guys, it's like we're in the heat of the battle. It's the 20th of January. I feel like this is like a day in my diary right now. The 31st is on the horizon. I will make it. But right now the fire's hot.
Yes.
So deadline is the 31st. Yes.
Okay.
And 1099s and W-2s are always a hot commodity. Hopefully, if you have to get to W-2s out before today, because there's supposed to have been 4 quarters of preparation gone into your W-2s that need to be issued by the 31st. So if you think you might have some employees and you may not have done what you were supposed to do all year, you probably need to contact me as soon as possible, or someone, because you need help. Otherwise, if you are a 1099er, yes, anybody that you paid over $600 to for a service, they should get a 1099. This is anybody from the cat babysitter all the way down to you don't have to like pay your trash guy because he probably works for a company. But if you want off a construction guy to come do a home project for you, technically you're supposed to 1099
Really?
them.
Like just like an average person, or like as a business owner?
No. So technically if they are, so you don't really know, because you're supposed to ask them to fill out a W-9, right? And on the W-9, they mark a box that says what they are. So if they mark the box that they are a Subchapter S business, technically you do not have to 1099 them. But if they were to mark the Sole Proprietor box, they get a 1099. Okay. So, and then, so a lot of people don't. Let's just be honest. And a lot of you just don't. And, but theoretically, if the IRS is to ever ask, you are supposed to, any person that you do not 1099 that you should have is a $50 penalty. That's what it's supposed to be. I've never heard of someone getting that. Yeah, I've never heard of someone getting that, like personally, right? I've heard of businesses. And the whole point here in a business is, so I have a business, and let's say I paid George Smith to come and like clean out my flower beds at my business, and he charged me $650. Technically, my business should be issuing George $650 to clean out the flower beds, because my business is going to take that off as an expense. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. I always tell people, are you planning to take this off as a business expense? And like, if I'm personally paying someone, I'm not taking the $600 that I paid someone to clean up my landscaping off on my tax return. Okay. Right? So theoretically, I should still 1099 him, because he should be claiming it. I don't know if he is or not, but theoretically I should. Anyway, regardless, the businesses, it kind of ups the ante, right? Because they could see the penalty because they take it off as an expense. So that's kind of a touchy situation. You have 11 days to figure it out.
Kayla, so anybody, you need to put me on your calendar right now, ASAP.
Yep.
Seriously.
Anybody that's why I always tell people, if you are paying someone over $600, like if it's in a job that you agree upon and it's over $600, go ahead and ask them to fill out the W-9 before you give them their final payment. Before you give them their check, make sure you have their information, because you need their name, their address, and their social security or EIN number. You have to have all 3 pieces. So
that's insane. I've never heard of that before. That's really good to know.
Mm-hmm. For example, you said if you are a Subchapter S, they don't have to 1099 you.
No, okay, let's say you pay me to do work. I'm a Subchapter S business, so you don't have to issue me one, because I'm a Sub S business. But if I'm not, you do. Does that make sense? It has.
So I need to be asking people if they are Subchapter S or not. Like if I have someone to say, I do a podcast one day and I have someone to edit my podcast for me, and it's like $750. Then before I agree upon that, I need to ask them, are you a Subchapter S LLC? If you are, great. I don't have to do anything for you. But if you are not, then I need you to fill out W-9.
Yep. And if you have them, and if you have them fill out the W-9, you will automatically know when they give that back to you what they are, because it asks them on there. So I always tell my people, it's a good practice just to have them fill out the W-9. If we need it, bonus points, we got it. If we don't need it, perfect. We're going to shred it. We don't really, nonetheless, you're transacting business with them. So there's some level of trust that's already there because you're transacting business with them. And it's just a good rule of thumb. It's a good thing to get in the practice of.
So one more question. If
Uh-huh.
someone reaches out to me and was like, hey, Brittany, you did my website for me. Do I need to issue you a 1099? Since I'm a Subchapter S, they don't have to issue me a 1099.
Technically, yes, that is the rule. What I find is a lot of people, like a lot of your clients, if they are my shared clients, most of them trust me and they're like, okay, Kayla, if you say I don't have to, then I don't have to. But I have some clients that it makes them feel better. And there's really, like, you're not going to get in trouble if you issue one to a Subchapter S business. It's just not necessary. It's just not made mandatory. So I have some people who do it because it makes them feel better. Like, they're like, nope, I just issued it to everybody. And then that way, if I'm ever asked, it doesn't matter what you are, because I issued it to everyone that I paid over $600 to. As a service. And it's only to a service. It's not a product. So that's important too. Like, if you received a tangible product, you don't necessarily have to like do this transaction. Like, that's what sales tax and all of that jazz is for. This is a service. Like,
can I ask you a question then?
Mm-hmm.
So if I commission an oil painting and it's, $1,000, they hand me the oil painting, but I picked that painter. Is that gonna be one of those 1099 moments?
No, I don't think so. So there's an exchange of goods.
Okay.
First of all, if there is an exchange of goods, we're going to need to dig deeper, and we're going to need to identify if there should have technically been sales tax on that purchase. And that's where I would go with it. I would say, no, I understand you are a commissioned painter and that's your gig, but at the end of the day, you exchange a product. The only way I would rebuttal that is if they bought all of the painting supplies. So if they provided the canvas, the paint brushes, the paints, all of those things, and you just showed up, what did you do? You were a service. That was their stuff. They purchased it. It was all on them. You just provided your services of drawing them a pretty picture.
Oh, interesting.
Very
so
interesting.
Does that kind of make the line a little bit clear?
Yeah. A little, yes, absolutely. The services versus the goods.
Right.
So the other question is, I know you hinted at that there were some major changes happening with these things. Let us know. We need to know.
So one of the biggest things, people have no idea what just happened. And it really is going to play into tax season more next year than this year. But I'm saying this now because I think conversations need to start now. And it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation of, am I a business? So now it has been made mandatory. So in past, prior to like 30 days ago, maybe 45 days ago, I don't know when they passed legislation, but the rule was that if you used a third-party vendor for payment, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, there's like 1,000,002, Stripe, whatever, all of those things. If you use that third party, they did not have to issue you a 1099 for transactions through there because they didn't really know. They might have had an idea, right? You mark the button if you're a friends and family versus business. But other than that, they really don't know. Like, they don't know what those transactions are. So prior to this, they did not have to issue you a statement unless you had over 200 transactions or $20,000. Sorry, 200 transactions or $20,000 through their platform. A lot of them did go ahead and issue that 1099K. And I'm going to be honest with you, as tax preparers, we're like, yeah, okay, that's great. Moving on. And we kind of just shoved it to the side. Well, the government has realized that, hey, there's a lot of people running businesses that we don't know about. And so they're like, okay, time out. We're going to put some more stipulations on this 1099K form. So a 1099K is like other 1099 forms, except for that K stands for the fact that it was a third party gateway, payment gateway. So all of those things are under that 1099K.
Wow.
And now the rule is for any starting January 1st, 2022. So all of this year, if you use any of those payment gateways for anything over $600, you will get a 1099K, and you should report that somehow, some way on your tax return. It was not a mandatory reporting in the past on this 1099K. Like I said, a lot of tax preparers, myself included, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. People would bring them in because you know why? People who are just like low key having online yard sales through Facebook or whatever platform they were choosing, guess what? They were yard selling it. Like, I knew what they were doing. This isn't a job. But the government says, oh, but maybe you are a job. And at the
powdered
very
donuts.
least, that's right. And at the very least, you're going to put that on your hobby line 8. Okay. And I'm going to tax you on it. That's basically what they're saying. So,
oh my gosh.
Yes. So it's like, guys, this is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And I am encouraging anyone who gets a 1099K, have a conversation with someone about it. You might have a business. And folks, I'm going to be real honest. It might be better for you to go ahead and say, I have a business, and let's treat it like a business as to just put it on a line 8, because you're going to pay income tax on it no matter what. So let's take some expenses against your online yard sale. I don't care that you were selling stuff online, but let me help you with it. Let me make it look better. Let me lower your tax burden.
I have a question for you. If you have a yard sale and you make a lot of money with your yard sale, you've already paid taxes on the things that you are selling, right? So are you then basically being double taxed?
Yeah, you are. They're saying, so there's like a ton.
I hate this conversation.
I know. It's like I said, this isn't real life. I'm just telling you what tax code says, and I'm telling you according
it's good to be
to
aware
tax code
of what.
Yes, just be aware that there are such rules out there called the hobby loss rules, and these are like this holy Bible on what is a business versus a hobby, and can you treat it as a business, or is the IRS going to deem it as a hobby? Oh, but by the way, if it's a hobby, we still want you to pay income tax on it. We're just going to let you off the hook and not make you pay self-employment tax. Like, what? No, like, I very, very rarely, like, if I have a person who's like, yeah, Kayla, I did it one time. I hated my online gig. I got rid of it. I'm like, okay, good. How much did you make? $600. Okay, we're going to put it on line 8. You're going to pay income tax on it this year, but don't do it again next year. And we move on. I don't worry about working with them through anything. But if they're like, yeah, I kind of enjoy selling my stuff and I make a little bit of money, that's my vacation / fun. Okay, great. That's fine. But now we're going to have the conversation about what expenses do you have selling all that stuff? Are you shipping it? Are you obviously are on the internet? So you have some device, you pay for internet, are you on a cell phone? There's expenses out there that you can take against your income that you've made. And also like there's just a whole bunch of rules that we get into. Like when you own a piece of something and you convert it to a business use, it has a value, and that value on said day, it means something to you. So I mean, it's like an in-deep conversation. Like we would be here for another hour if we talked about this.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, watch out. That's my main gig. Watch out.
Alicia says double taxed. Welcome to Illinois, the good old tax town, Illinois.
It sounded like
she's a tax cow.
Yeah, she wants it. Like in Chicago, I remember it was like everything you did was taxed and taxed and taxed. So we had a bev tax, a
Yep.
beverage tax. And I remember, because it's supposed to be like, oh, like, don't worry, it's just a tax on like fun drinks. So like, just normal. I bought oat milk. Plain. I have a dairy allergy. It's not fun. There's
Right.
nothing fun. There's nothing hoo ha ha.
Oat
I'm having a
milk.
great time. I'm having an oat milk party. It's gonna be crazy. Oat milk isn't fun. Oat milk isn't grape soda.
Right.
And they
I love it.
slammed me with this huge tax because oat milk is expensive. And the type that I bought, it like wound up being to where it was like $6 or $7
I know.
for a little container of oat
I know
milk.
of oat milk.
I'm
I
not
know.
having fun.
Wow.
No, I know. There's like, no, don't look to Illinois as being a tax beacon. It's not. There are plenty. If we need to have that conversation, just let me know. I can give you plenty of other places.
That's a whole
where
other
you can
conversation for a
live.
different day.
Yeah,
ready.
much better tax-friendly states than the good old state of Illinois.
Yeah.
Much better.
Courtney says, okay, this is something I learned a while back, but the difference in tax for my services versus sale tax for my products.
Yeah. Courtney's a photographer, but then she offers like albums and things like that.
Yes.
So like the physical product she's giving that's not digital,
Right.
all in itself has its own taxes associated.
Yes, it does. It is. That's the sales tax burden. That's why I always say it's a tricky. It gets into a tricky slope, and if in doubt, we can always call them and ask, and they're more than happy to let us know how they feel about something. But I always tell people, let's err on the side of caution, especially after 1 year. I'm like, how many albums did you sell? Okay, we really need to sales tax those. So that's kind of the conversations. Once again, I think that is just the props to Courtney if she learned all that on her own. That is a heavy burden to bear. I do think that is why I've seen an increase in my business is because they're like, listen, I'm doing really good at my product and I know my product, but I really don't care how they tax my product. Can you help me figure that out? And that is my job. Like, that's why people pay me, in my opinion.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Alicia.
Okay. Casey, I had a lot of questions there for her. Did you have any that you wanted to add?
Yes.
I love it.
Kayla, what's the difference between a deduction and an expense?
I love it.
You please help me.
Yeah, so I think this is just a lot of tax jargon that sometimes gets confused, right? So as a business, you have expenses. That's what you incur on the day-to-day. The IRS says that if they are ordinary and necessary business expenses, so if you paid money out and it is ordinary and necessary for your business to function, then it becomes a tax deduction. So it's really, it's no different than like the LLC, like limited liability. It's a legal term, right? It's kind of that way with expenses and deductions. You have expenditures, you're paying money for stuff. That's an expense. Anything that you pay money for your business, that is an expense. Now, is that expense a deduction? I don't know. Is it ordinary? Is it necessary? Possibly. I would tell you that majority, if they're reasonable expenses, majority are.
So what I want to know is, how is my trip to Punta Cana
I knew it was coming.
Ordinary. It was necessary.
It was necessary.
Right in Airy. Just needed it.
I love it. I love it. Here's the thing, Brittany.
So
did you pick up any clients?
No.
Wrong answer, Brittany. I'm going to go again. I love it. I love it.
We just
I'll be honest. I'm an honest person.
Just let me say yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
an honest person.
Courtney has a banking background in the SBDC, by the way.
Yeah.
To give her all that knowledge.
That's a solid background.
Go Courtney.
Cool.
Yes.
Oh. Yes. So take stock images and hand out business cards.
Yes. Yes. Courtney, I like what you're.
I have stock images.
There you go.
From it.
There you go. Did you take, so I would say absolutely the day that you took stock images, or like if you can like proportion out your times, all of that. But then the next question is, was it necessary to take stock images there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, it's a great answer. That's where I'm just gonna stop. Just stop there. Just say yes and we move on.
Okay, full disclosure, I'm not going to be using Punta Cana as a business expense, but I'm trying to figure out how, Kayla.
Hey, you know what? There is truly, don't listen to Casey. I like it. I love it. In all honesty, like I myself, like it is not a bad idea to travel and take care of business expense. So like that is a thing. It is a very real thing. Because I don't know a world without taxes, I can tell you that I had plenty of family vacations that revolved around where the tax conferences were. Right.
Yeah.
So if they were already going to have to pay for themselves to have airfare to attend this conference, and they were already going to have to pay for the hotel room, then sure, the whole family was coming and we paid out of pocket for the rest of the plane tickets and the room was already taken care of. So there were little things like that. And the IRS doesn't get to say who stays in your room when you're at the conference, right? So if your family's in the room, it's a thing. It happens. Do it. Take it. Go for it.
If they could, if the IRS was like, no, we said you can only bring one child.
Yeah.
Wait, give them time.
Yeah, exactly. Give them time. Let's not put
After they've already, I don't want to get in a talk like that, but moving on. Oh my gosh. Okay, well that's great, because another question I had was like what we deem lifestyle expenses that can bleed over into business expenses. Like in a nutshell, like are there things that bleed over?
Sure. There are always going to be things that bleed over. You know, I always remind people when they come in and they sit down at my desk, I do not work for the IRS. The IRS does not pay my bills. I am not the police of the IRS. My job is to work for the taxpayer. You work really hard for your money, especially if you're in small business. And so my job is to find every single loophole that they leave in the law that they write and make it work for you. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm not going to like go to jail on your behalf. Not happening, right? I'm not going to be sanctioned. My livelihood isn't going to be. I'm not. When can we write off dogs? I love it. Oh, if only I would have a house full. My husband would kill me. No, but for real, you know, I'm not into doing illegal things, but I am into making the law work for you.
I love that.
I am a firm believer that there are plenty of loopholes. And hey, guys, I am not shy. I will walk through there and I will back up my case. I'll have, you know, we'll have records. We're going to make sure our case is foolproof. So if they are, this is exactly why we did it. And, you know, I feel pretty good in the fact that I'm a third generation tax preparer. I've had others that have gone before and have fallen on that sword.
Bless your grandmother.
Exactly. And, you know, she's a pretty good resource in that when I'm thinking, hey, I do it often. You know, I'll run a situation by her and say, hey, what do you think about this? Can we make it work? Can we not? Like, what do you think? And she'll say, hey, this is what I've done in the past and it's held up in an audit. So do it again. Great. Let's go for it. And so, that's something that's different, I guess, about me is that I have that resource bank. Like this is a real life application resource bank. And, I use that to our advantage. I use that to my clients that I'm, you know, that I talk to, like, it's a generational thing, right? A lot of my clients are my age. A lot of her clients are her age. And so we're trying to learn everything that they already know, right? Let's not reinvent that wheel. Let's build on that foundation. So a lot of times that's what I will do too, in that aspect.
We got a really good question from Courtney. what is the tax liability difference for subcontractors versus independent contractors?
So I think there's not really any tax liability differences unless they have a different structure for their business. But a subcontractor and an independent contractor, that's really more of a legal difference as far in like Department of Labor difference. And a subcontractor often is not bidding on jobs. They kind of have sources that feed them work, right? Whereas an independent contractor they're independent. They're out kind of doing their own thing. They don't necessarily work with the same person all the time, but it's really more, in my opinion, a legal difference, a Department of Labor difference. But tax-wise, if we're talking about the tax that they owe, a subcontractor and an independent contractor will pay the same type of tax. They're both probably considered sole proprietors, unless they, I'm thinking about like, he's technically, I don't know, he started out as a subcontractor. Now he's more independent contractor, but he does like finishes mobile homes. So, they take them, they set them, and somebody has to come in and they do it. They call trim out. He works specifically with one brand of mobile homes, but he also bids out other jobs. So he did start out under one subcontractor. Now he does all independent contractor. But as far as tax goes, he paid the same type of taxes all the way along. He's now a corporation. So actually it doesn't matter. He's a corporation now.
Interesting.
I hope that answers the question.
Because you could be a subcontractor who technically has an LLC, right? Like where someone's subcontracting you, or you could be a sole proprietor, depending on how you've structured your business. Right. That's just dependent on that relationship with whomever's paying you.
Yeah, it totally is dependent. That's what I say. It's really more of a legal term. I can tell you, if somebody comes in my office with a stack of 1099s, we're not going that deep into, now, are you a subcontractor or an independent contractor? I'm not necessarily into that. I'm more about, okay, you got a stack of 1099s. Do you file a Schedule C, or should we look at an LLC sub S type for you?
Interesting.
Love it.
So much information.
I believe she said yes in response to you asking if that answered her question.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. I feel like I've asked you so many. I told Kayla, I said, tonight we're not going to be like bombarding you with questions. And here I am just like, boo, boo, boo. And then Kayla's just like catching them.
You know what, guys? It's one of those things, though, there's so much.
Oh, this is
there's a lot. There's a lot out there. So I don't have all the answers. These are just pretty, pretty basic things that I think we should share.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Courtney just asked, since you girls know lots of creators, would you like to explain why brides don't issue 1099s? That's really interesting. I've never thought of that before.
So the first thing is probably, should they? Technically, yes. But they probably are not, because why? Because they're not taking that expense off on their tax return. There's really, nobody's there to like catch it and say, oh, you should have issued this 1099. No, technically, yes, they should issue the 1099, but no one's there to catch it and smack their hand and say, you should have done this. Really in good faith, you pay your wedding photographer and you're like, hope you claim that on your taxes. And if you pay them in a check, it's a whole lot harder for them not to claim it, because it runs through their bank account with their EIN. By the way, the government already knows what's flowing through that bank account with the EIN on it. So if you put it in there, sister, you better claim it. That's why you get into a lot of the issues of people not claiming cash. So if I'm a bride and I pay cash to my wedding photographer, I don't know if they claimed it.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. But spin on this, if you're Kourtney Kardashian and you have a television show and you're getting married on the television show, most likely they will be issuing 1099, because that's going to be a business expense, because it's going to be part of the television show, which is their business, correct?
Yes, we're not all Khloe Kardashians, but yes, my guess is that too. Because it's part of the show. Like, is she an employee? Is she a contractor? I don't know. I hope she negotiated right and hope she's a contractor, not an employee, so she can take her expenses. But I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting things. We're not Kardashians. We don't have the level that they have to worry about.
Everyone has a Kardashian seedling in their heart that could grow if only we would water it with.
I don't know. I've never watched
Taxes and Kardashians in the same conversation. That was my fault.
Kardashians, welcome to this week's Brittany Brainstorm.
You never know. You never know where it's going to go, ladies.
Another comment.
Sorry, Brett.
So with the new tax changes, large amounts being monitored even in personal accounts, this is catching those checks in personal accounts, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the IRS they understand. So I think we kind of need to get a bigger perspective on how a 1099 comes about, what a 1099 is, and when you get the 1099, understanding what has happened before you've gotten the 1099, right? So if I am issuing Brittany a 1099, I say, yes, I paid Brittany Bateman $750 this year. I put it on a form and I submit it to the IRS, and then I mail Brittany a copy. Brittany gets 1099. Brittany has the decision to make. Do I put this on my tax return or do I not put this on my tax return? Well, let's say that I actually paid Brittany in cash. Okay. So now we've doubled down on it. Did Brittany deposit money? I don't know. But Brittany did get a 1099. So IRS already knows about the money. I don't care if you put it in the bank account or not. If you got the 1099, you better claim it, because the IRS has what they call a red flag report. It's really just a crapshoot if you're going to get dinged on this. And basically what they come back to is they will kind of look in detail at your report, and they will look at the 1099s reported under your social versus the claimed income on your tax return. And they're going to see where you fall. If you have underreported income, they're probably going to look at the 1099s you reported on your tax return. And then they might send you a little letter that says, I think you have some unreported income. I show that you did not report the $750 that has been reported from Kayla Bredar. And so therefore, we're going to charge you this tax and some penalty and interest. Unless you can refute our claims. So that, in short, is why we report our 1099s on our tax return.
Wow.
Now let's take a step back. Kayla gave Brittany $750 because she photographed her wedding. Does Brittany claim it? Well, did Brittany put it in her bank account? And I can tell you, in my practice, I tell them, you best not give me a number that is anything less than the deposits on your bank account for the year, period. I don't care what your 1099s, that's great that you got 1099s that total $25,000. But if the total on that bank account was $50,000 in cash and deposits, I don't know if they're cash, but deposits, we're claiming $50,000, because that's an automatic, such a red flag. So yes, to answer your question, the IRS already knows about your bank account that has your tax ID number on it. Hello, they issued that. They know about it. Don't try to hide it from them. Go ahead, claim it. That's just the practice in my office. Like I said, we don't take anything less than the deposits that are on that account. Now, it can obviously be more. There are some super honest people in the world that will tell me about every single penny that they've collected the entire year, whether it was cash, credit card, check, whether they deposited it into their account or not. They tell me about it. And then there are those that don't. And I'll stop.
I love that. That was, wow. A lot of information.
Yes.
You took us to church a bit.
She hopes that she worded that right.
I feel like I got my
We think a
hands
lot.
swatted, even though I do claim everything that comes in with my business.
No,
I just don't want to be in trouble.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's always I am working on, so there is a new software out right now for tax preparers, and I am in the process of getting that flowing in our practice, and it is going to be an added service that I give to my clients, and it is a red flag report. So I'm going to be able to have you sign off on a power of attorney, a transcript form, which just a power of attorney just saying, yes, I'm your tax preparer and I can talk to the IRS on your behalf. And a transcript, meaning that this basically you're giving me permission to look at everything submitted under your social or EIN to the IRS. Once I get those, and the software is really cool in the fact that if I upload those and everything is working properly, I can run a report on you every year, and I can say, okay, show me the magic number that was reported under Brittany's social. And it will send me a number, and then I can look and say, okay, Brittany, so I see that the IRS is showing $100,000 reported under your name, and you're only claiming 60. And I can be like, that's a red flag. I don't care what you did with the other 40, but I'm just letting you know that that's a red flag. And so if they come asking, you best be able to tell them where the other 40 went and explain to them why you didn't tell me about the other 40.
Interesting.
And that's a thing. So that is that is new software that's on the horizon. Like I said, it will take us a while to get it implemented. The IRS has undergone like so many changes within the last 2 years. COVID has did a number on the IRS, and so as tax preparers, we're kind of playing catch up. I'm not gonna lie, like it's been so much new at once. That's just one thing that I know, but realistically it'll take me a year this tax season before I'm able to offer that readily. But yeah, it's definitely
sign me up. I can be your beta client, if you will.
There you go.
Because I think last year I was like, Kayla, here's my dirty underwear drawer. Like, just see everything. Make sure I don't go to jail, please.
No, I don't.
Because look, I'm not going to survive.
Poor Brett.
I love it. No, it's true. And you know what? To be honest with you, like, I make it sound like there are tons of people that don't tell the truth. No, most of the clients do fall under the same category that you're under. They want to be honest. They want to pay their tax. They're like, I just work really hard, Kayla. Can you help me? And I'm with you. I want to help you. I want, and that's the number one thing in our office. I hope that everyone feels as they sit down across the table from me. Trust me. I trust you. I trust that you're going to give me good information, and trust that I am going to do my best with the information that you give me. You have to trust your tax preparer. If you do not trust your tax preparer to work on your behalf, then you need to find a new one. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. And I realize that if someone doesn't trust me, that's fine. I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. Find someone that you can trust, because that's so important. So important.
So
absolutely.
We're hitting about a little over an hour, Brittany, and there was one question that I feel like is like the best one.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me taking it from the Brittany question bank.
Go for it.
What are some specific deadlines that small businesses need to be aware of right now?
Okay. So first one is the 1099 W-2s, January 31st. It is a Monday. As long as they are submitted by midnight that night, you are golden. That's the first one. The second one depends on what type of business you are and how you file your tax return. If you are a Subchapter S business, if you are a partnership, if you are a what they call a pass-through entity, really it's just those two. Those are the main two that you're going to find. Your deadline for your partnership or business tax return is March 15th. If you are a sole proprietor, Schedule C business, or perhaps an E or an F, And those that are E's and F's, they typically know. That means your rentals are my E's. F's would be my farms. Sorry, I have hiccups. If you are any of those, you have regular tax deadline of April. This year, April 18th. Normally it's April 15th. It falls on a Friday, which is some random holiday only in Washington, D.C. So we get to party all weekend and finish it up at the beginning of the week on the 18th.
Very cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Very cool.
So those are the most important deadlines. If you are not sure what you are or how you file, I can tell you very quickly by giving me a copy of your last year's tax return.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Well, Kayla, go ahead, Casey.
I was just going to ask really quickly how people can get a hold of you to work with you and what all you can offer for them.
Sure. So I think, it's scrolling at the bottom. If you will go to our website, shawneefinancial.com, there is a contact us form or get in contact with me. And if you're able to tell me a little bit about what you are needing. So how things start off in our office is with the conversation. It's a free conversation. It's really just you and I chatting and getting to know one another. You telling me where you are and kind of what you need. And then me giving you my honest and professional opinion about if I can help you and what I see in your future if you are part of this practice. And it's usually pretty painless. I don't ask for a lot of information. It's always helpful if you bring your last tax return or you get me the copy of last year's tax return. And that tells me a lot about kind of your situation and where you've been. Plus, you're going to tell me the narrative of what happened. And we just have a conversation and we go from there. A lot of times I have an online portal this year that is super awesome and very easy to use, I might add, as compared to last year. So also at ShawneeFinancial.com in the top right-hand corner, sorry, I had to get my left and right straight, but it's in the top right-hand corner. It'll say Client Portal. There's a guest exchange. So you do not have to be a prior client to submit me your information. I'll get a little notification that you've uploaded something. I'll be able to take a look and get back with you.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So cool.
That's awesome. Well, Kayla, I'm so happy that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk with us about all this information. There's still so much more. I just want to tell you seriously, it's scratching the surface with you because there's so much that we don't even have time to talk about right now. But if someone has a question, they want to find out how to make all this stuff work for them, especially as a business owner, take that time to talk with Kayla because you're going to learn things you didn't ever expect and find new expenses or deductions that exist within your business specifically that's probably unique to you. So Kayla, again, we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Is there anything else you want anyone to know before we let you go for the evening?
No, seriously, give Taste of Balance a try. Guys, the dinner is great. That's my plug for Alicia. And I'm happy to help. Let's have a conversation.
Great. We have a couple more comments here.
Oh, yeah.
Brittany said Brittany just disagreed with the painless part. And then Alicia just said, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the information, and your bubbly personalities made learning about taxes too much fun.
Aww.
Looking forward to the next live show. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia. We appreciate you watching tonight.
Definitely.
All right. Well, everyone
Perfect.
have a wonderful evening and stay tuned for whatever we have coming up next week. We usually post Monday or Tuesday nights the week of. So, all right. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, ladies. Have a good night.
Yep. See ya.